We won't spend too much time on it, but we're going to go over just very briefly here. We do know that there's a budget in 2024, right? Low immigration targets will hamper the growth engine of the economy. Yes, we do know that because less people, less production, right? However, we don't know what else, what other downstream effects that'll have. U.S. President Donald Trump policy should dictate domestic outcomes and spending priorities. Federal election also looms. So, three things, right? Three things. One is immigration. Two is Donald Trump. Three is, our own election. And who knows? An election can be called like any day, any week, any month. Who knows what's going to go on there, right? So a lot of the challenges remain. Canada's unemployment is risen faster. We know this. Let's just talk about immigration. Fair enough. So we talked about three things here. Immigration, we're going to talk about basically tariffs and election year stuff, right? So let's just talk about this very briefly and see what this means for us writing puts, which supported the growth, but also comes with its own set of challenges. To set aside moderate sharply given lower targets for immigration. Lower population growth means total consumption and employment growth for economy as a whole in years ahead, restraining the expansion of the tax base and government revenues. These changes will shave nearly 1 percentage point. Interesting, 1 percentage point of economic growth over the next 3 years compared to our previous projections, negatively affecting the budgetary balance by cumulatively 50 billion over 2025. So that's interesting. What they're saying is that, listen, we're going to curtail population growth through immigration, but this will have pretty significant effects here. But other factors will help offset this negative fiscal outlook, primarily lower interest rates than planned, given the bank will have to cut rates more aggressively ahead of economic weakness. Fair enough, that could offset it, yes. In total, we estimate that the economic development since about 2024 will subtract almost $20 billion from the budgetary balance over the forecast horizon. However, lower trend population growth will be on an ongoing fiscal drag. So here we see lower population growth equals lower economic growth and fiscal balance. So here's your GDP impact in green. They don't have it going out. And here's your fiscal impact. So basically, this is not surprising, but this is I mean, from a Canadian's perspective, it's like it's kind of like the housing crisis, isn't it? Right? Like we want lower interest rates, we want more affordable housing, but you can't have both. You can't have lower interest rates and have lower housing prices, right? So you know what? Like it's very difficult. It's like you're trying to suck and blow at the same time. And now we're looking at good afternoon, Omar. We've told everyone how you're feeling, so I don't need to put your video on. I'll take care of most of this. If you want to chime in at certain parts,
that's for a little bit. But yeah, guys, I'm having a hard time just even sitting down. It's I took a terrible, nasty spill on my stairs today, or yesterday. Sorry. And I've been rubbing icy hot on my back since then. It's been bad. It's really bad. I have a huge bruise on my tailbone, so I apologize if I can't join the call the way I want to normally. I'll let Matt take it over, and we'll get going.
Yeah, you relax, You don't need a TV in your office even. You can take this on your phone if you wish. But
thanks, Lorianne.
But yeah. All right, so we're just talking here about housing. We're talking about, listen, like we want lower prices, but we want we want lower interest rates, but we want also more affordable housing. It can't happen, guys. And I think this is much the same kind of argument. It's like, do we want less immigration and more productivity? Yes, but it's very difficult to have that. And like, why do I say less immigration? Well, I pretty much say less immigration because that's also kind of driving housing growth too, right? And housing prices, right? So they are interconnected, but very difficult to achieve. So yes, there's been a curtailment of immigration into Canada since, I believe, October. I think it was October 24th, but that's going to come with lower economic growth, right? And that's the interesting thing, right? Let's see. Yeah, I feel better soon. Omar should rest. Omar should definitely rest. So there's one Q&A question here. Yes, for sure. Okay. Here's this older comments.
Still
So
saying,
guys,
Matthew, rest for the wicked, right?
rest is what is it? Is rest for the wicked? I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
Just the old
No
saying,
rest for the wicked. No rest.
no rest for wicked, right?
That's
So
the thing.
yeah,
No rest for the wicked.
right.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, you can't have both, and it's a very fine line as to which we really want, right? And it's also a fairly sensitive topic, right? Because lots of us here are also, at one time were immigrants to this country, right? But again, like it's a sensitive topic, and we want economic growth and we want economic stability, but we don't want certain other things as well, right? And I do not envy the policymakers in Canada in time and trying to walk this tightrope. It's very just very it's a very sensitive area to walk in with lots of pitfalls here, and it's a very difficult decision to be made. Okay, let's go on to something else here. So trade-induced volatility. So President Trump's first seems to be his favorite words these days seems to be tariffs. Tariffs. Um, our early read is that most Trump campaign programs would be negative for Canada. Increased tariffs on Canadian imports to U.S. would be a significant drag on for Canadian-made goods, while lower personal and corporate tax is in the United States would undermine Canada's competitiveness and investment prospects. Yeah, now what a terrible read this is, right? And I mean, again, I do not envy the policymakers here. Very terrible here. It's Canadian goods are going to cost more to get into the United States, reducing the demand for Canadian goods. And you still have like kind of a brain drain in terms of, okay, well, Canadians can go, we can emigrate to the United States. If you're a professional, if you're running a business, you can go there. You can go there, right? You won't get citizenship right away, but you'll get a visa to open a business in the right manner. Lots of people can go there, and now you're going to take advantage of more beneficial tax rates as well. So that's an interesting one, right? I don't know. Is anyone a member of that Canadians wishing to emigrate to Florida Facebook group? I don't know if anyone of you is a member there. I added myself there just to kind of gain some intel, and I'm like, wow, Lorianne, you're a fellow member. Well, interesting. I think there's about 80,000 of us. It's not a small number of people thinking along those lines. I'm not now. To be clear, I'm not thinking of emigrating to the United States. But that being said, I don't mind keeping abreast of what's going on there, right? But again, it's a difficult situation for policymakers to be in. Given the significant uncertainty around the extent and time of Trump's promises, our conversion of actual policy, how the government builds contingencies into fiscal planning, and how it at least signals its overlapping priorities to the US will also matter. So, I mean, here's the thing, guys. If you are trading in, like, let's just bring this back to options. We can bring this back to options. We're bring this back to, us being Canadians living in Canada. We bring it back to options. If in the event you are trading options in Canada, perhaps, perhaps a more quote unquote flight to safety, tongue in cheek might be a good idea in terms of like if there are companies here that 90% of their goods get sent to the United States, well, maybe they're going to be hit pretty hard. Perhaps if you're a bank or a company that doesn't rely on the United States, for a lot of exports, maybe you'll be okay. Maybe that's a kind of a sector shift or sector tilt you'd like to consider there, right? Now, in terms of Canadians, yeah, this doesn't bode well for the Canadian economy whatsoever, right? Absolutely not. Because guess what? Those companies or business owners that have a lot of goods getting shipped to the United States, and if they're going to be taxed heavily, well, you know what? They're going to experience some difficult times, may result in some unemployment. These are not nice things to have, right? Not nice things to have at all. Okay, let's continue on here. Sorry. Okay. Tackling affordability challenges amid election year. Now, there's been there could be election again anytime. Cost of living and affordability concerns are very real. Yeah, absolutely. Federal policy also provided major and ongoing cost relief for many Canadians with tens of billions in annual funding from Holland programs like national child care. That's the $10 a day daycare, dental care, seniors benefits, and housing. further relief is still in the works. Childcare fees are still set to fall at least in 2 provinces. So we have some, but somebody needs to pay for this, by the way, right? And even this $10 a day daycare, I can assure you that's not free. It's not like the government gives you $10 a day daycare, because so my accounting practice has clients that receive funding from the federal government, and those are they're mostly childcare facility. Well, they're all childcare facilities, guys. And yes, the childcare facility will offer the end user or the parent a $10 a day daycare or something like that. But guess what? The government reimburses them. So it might be $10 a day to the end user, but it is not $10 a day to the business, right? Which is good for the business, because why should the business be mandated to do that? But it is the taxpayer that's eventually and indirectly funding that program, and that's a tricky one to navigate as well, isn't it? Right? Like, who doesn't want their kids to get a good childcare while the parents are at work earning money, right? That's a pretty reasonable thing to say, right? But again, these initiatives are paid, at least some of them are paid for by the general public, just through taxation revenue. Okay. Broad-based and demand-side initiatives like cash transfers don't tend to solve underlying problem, and they risk exacerbating inflationary pressures. Interesting, right? This article came out just about a week after the administration